Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much once again, dear devotees, for kindly being present here today. Thank you, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu, for kindly being the host of this series of talks and for kindly answering all my queries whenever I ask you something in between. Dear devotees, we are continuing from where we left off last time. We are discussing the first verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Mahaprabhu's Śikṣastakam. And even in the first verse, we are discussing the first phrase, ceto-darpana-marjanam. I'd like to share my screen so that we can all see the presentation. Dear devotees, this is our fourth session on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Śikṣastakam, and we are continuing from where we left off last time. Dear devotees, as usual, an introductory verse to glorify and pray unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shikshastakamritabdhau yo majjan majjayati svakan sagaurangas tatastham mam kadabdhau krakshyati swayam. Shikshashtaka amrita abdhau yo majjan. While drowning himself, Sri Gauranga majjayati swakan. He simultaneously causes his near and dear ones also to drown in this nectar ocean of Sri Siksastakam. Tatastham mam, but I am a mere bystander. Kada, I am waiting at the shore. When will Sri Gauranga forcibly pull me in that nectar ocean? Rakshati swayam. He himself has to come and pull me. Then there is some hope for myself. Dear devotees, we are discussing the first verse, but before we go to the verse, we'll begin with a quote by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada says in a letter written on 14th August 1968, something, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, can you kindly read what Srila Prabhupada says?
Kirtan means both lecturing and chanting with music. The chanting with music is especially attractive for the mass of people, but talking from a philosophical point of view on Krishna consciousness is also chanting.
So Srila Prabhupada says here in this letter that we should not simply think that chanting Krishna Nam with musical instruments is Sankirtan or Kirtan. Speaking philosophically about the qualities, pastimes, forms of Shri Krishna is also Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Often we restrict the definition of Shri Krishna Sankirtanam to Nam Sankirtanam, but we should not restrict Sankirtan only to Nam Sankirtan, because in the writings of the previous acharyas, there is also Rupa Kirtan, glorification of the form of Krishna, Guna Kirtan, glorification of the qualities of Krishna, Leela Kirtan, glorification of the pastimes of Shri Krishna. So all these varieties of Kirtan are also included within the umbrella of Kirtan. Srila Prabhupada is saying, talking from philosophical point of view on Krishna consciousness is also chanting. Chanting means he is saying it is also Kirtan. So dear devotees, what we are doing right now, we are going to discuss about Kirtan. And a discussion on Kirtan is also Kirtan, dear devotees. So while we are discussing Kirtan, we are actually performing Kirtan. So all of us are walking the talk. Not only are we speaking about Kirtan, we are also simultaneously engaged in Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Dear devotees, This is the first verse that we are discussing. Ceto-darpana-marjanam bhavamaham Dāvagni-nirvāpanam Shreya-kairava-chandrika-vitaranam Vidya-vadhu-jivanam Anandam-buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita-swadanam Sarvatma-snapanam param vijayate Shri-Krishna Sankirtanam. Dear devotees, this is the first verse of Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam. We have already seen the word for word. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, can you kindly read in sequence the Anvay?
It cleanses the mirror of the consciousness, eradicates the massive wildfire of material existence, causes a moonlight diffusion that blooms the night water lily of all-around auspiciousness, becomes the life and soul of the newly wed bride of all divine knowledge, swells the ocean of joy, causes an experience of complete nectarian bliss in each successive syllable as well as word, and thoroughly cleanses the entirety of oneself. That entity, named Sri Krishna Sankirtan, reigns supremely victorious.
So this is the Anvay, and the same Anvay arranged in the form of sentences. This is the translation, dear devotees, which Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu just read out. And in this particular verse, we are currently discussing the first term, ceto-darpana-marjanam. It is an adjective of the final term, Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. The final term in the verse is Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. That is Shri Krishna Sankirtan. And we have seen many meanings of Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. But the first adjective is ceto-darpana-marjanam. It cleanses the mirror of the consciousness. Last time, in the previous session, we saw the commentary on this verse by Shri Veer Chandra Goswami. And Shri Veer Chandra Goswami had said, Cheta eva darpanam. The consciousness, Cheta, is itself a mirror. Mirror is darpana. Why? Bhagavan Murti Pratibimba Darshakatvat. Because it is able to show a reflection of Bhagavan's form in it, if it is clean. But tad avidya samsargena malinam asid. It was dirty due to contact with avidya. And what is avidya? Beginningless ignorance. Tanvarjayati shodhayati. So Sankirtanam cleanses it. And tadetena puta jalopamam. So in this way, Shri Krishna Sankirtanam is compared to purifying water, which cleanses the dirty mirror of the consciousness, Cheta, and the dirt, dear devotees, the original dirt is avidya. So that is what Shri Krishna Sankirtanam does. So the consciousness is compared to a mirror, or in this case, it is said it is directly like a mirror. But we cannot see the form properly in the mirror because there is some dust on the mirror. This dust is avidya. Once the dust is cleansed, using the waters of Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, then we will be able to see that particular entity who is closest to the mirror of the heart. And who is closest to the mirror of the heart? The personality closest to the mirror of the heart is Bhagavan Shri Krishna. And along with that, we will also be able to see ourselves. But currently, this is the situation. The mirror is covered by the dust, heavy dust of avidya. Dear devotees, we have to cleanse this avidya. But first and foremost, before we begin this task of cleansing avidya, let us understand what this avidya is. What is this dust? So, dear devotees, today we will try to inquire into what avidya is. and what is the cause of this avidya, and how can Sankirtan cleanse this avidya. So dear devotees, in order to understand what is avidya, beginningless ignorance, we have to go back in time. And what time, dear devotees? We have to go back to the time when Shri Krishna, he creates this particular, all the universes he creates as Mahavishnu. And Shri Krishna says something in the 11th canto. He says, Vidya vidye mamatanu. Vidya, avidya. So both vidya is beginningless knowledge, and avidya, beginningless ignorance. Mama tanu. Tanu, literal meaning of tanu is body. So if we take the literal meaning, it says knowledge and ignorance are my bodies, two bodies of mine. But the commentator, Srila Sridhar Swami, explains Tanu Shakti. So Tanu means potency. So both Vidya and Avidya, knowledge and ignorance, both of them are beginningless. Now, ignorance of what? Ignorance of the supreme absolute truth, Bhagavan, is Avidya, dear devotees. And this Avidya is beginningless. It has no beginning in time. So, Bhagavan says in the 11th canto, Vidya, Avidya, Vidya, Avidya, Mamatanu. Vidya and Avidya are both my potencies. It's not that Avidya is separate from me. Avidya is also my potency. Dear devotees, question arises, what sort of potency is Avidya? We know that Avidya is Bhagavan's potency. Ignorance is also Bhagavan's potency. But what sort of potency? So let's dive deeper. When the entire universe was in the state of dissolution, Mahavishnu, also known as Karuṇā Shai Vishnu, he suddenly, after the end of destruction, he suddenly decides to create everything again. Dear devotees, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described how it is Mahavishnu, Karuṇā Shai Vishnu, who uses Maya to create all the material universes. The Chaitanya Charitamrita describes Maya dvare srijyate ho brahmandera gana jada rupa prakriti nahe brahmanda karana. Translation: through the agency of Maya, Karuṇā Vishnu creates all the universes. The dull material energy named Maya is not the cause of the material universe. Dear devotees, according to other philosophies such as Sankhya, this universe is caused by material nature. Even if you ask many rationalists or many scientists, they will say nature has created everything. So, the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vaishnavas, they say, Maya cannot act by herself. It is Bhagavan Vishnu and especially Karuṇā Shai Vishnu who empowers that dull, inert Maya. And after being empowered, that Maya creates. So Maya is simply an agency of creation. The original creator is Bhagavan Karuṇā Shai Vishnu. So this tattva we have to, this siddhanta we have to understand. So here we have Karuṇā Shai Vishnu, dear devotees. Now, please pay close attention. Karuṇā Shai Vishnu, he glances over Maya. After he glances over Maya, unlimited material universes are generated, dear devotees. So, the entire creation was in a state of dissolution. Maya was inert, inactive. Suddenly, at the time of creation, he again glanced at Maya. Maya, on receiving the glance of Mahavishnu, ends up creating the shells of the universes, material universes. Dear devotees, thus for every universe that is created, every shell that is created, it is said that the Purush or our Bhagwan Karuṇaka Shai Vishnu is the Upadan Karanam and Nimitta Karanam. Now, we will explain these two technical terms, but let's hear these two technical terms. For every universe, Bhagwan is the substantive cause and Bhagwan is also the instrumental cause. The substantive cause is known as Upadan Karanam and instrumental cause is known as Nimitta Karanam. Now let's try to understand both these technical terms, because we cannot understand avidya unless and until we get into the details. It is easy to translate avidya as ignorance, but to understand avidya in detail, we need to get into the technicalities of creation. Dear devotees, whenever any object is created in this material world, there are two causes. One is known as Upadan Karan, one is known as Nimitta Karan. I will explain with the help of a simple example. A pot maker is creating pots using clay. The devotees, when the potter or the pot maker is creating pots using clay, the Upadan Karan is known as substantive cause. It is this cause which gets transformed into the effect. So, dear devotees, clay is going to get transformed into the pot. So, clay is one cause of the pot. Clay is one cause of generation of the pot, but clay is personally getting transformed into the effect, which is the pot. Therefore, clay is the substance which generates the effect, the pot. Therefore, it is known as substantive cause, also known as Upadan Karan. And the second is instrumental cause, Nimitta Karan. This is the cause which generates the effect, but which does not personally transform itself. For example, the potter's wheel, it keeps spinning. The wheel does not become the pot. The potter has a turning stick which he uses to spin the wheel. The turning stick does not become the pot. But these two contribute to the final effect, which is the pot. So these two are also the causes, but they are instrumental causes. They are known as Nimitta Karan. So in the creation of a clay pot, the clay is the actual root substance which is going to get transformed into the effect. Therefore, it is known as Upadan Karan, substantive cause. And the wheel as well as the turning stick, which the potter uses to turn the wheel, both of them are not going to transform themselves into the pot. Still, they are going to contribute to the pot. They are Nimitta Karan or instrumental cause. This, dear devotees, is simple enough to understand. Now we know what is Upadan Karan and Nimitta Karan. So whenever I say Upadan Karan, remember clay, which transforms into the effect. Whenever I say Nimitta, Nimitta means instrument. Whenever I say Nimitta Karan, please remember that particular cause which does not transform into the effect, yet helps the effect. Now, dear devotees, of this material world, Bhagavan is the Nimitta Karan or Upadan Karan or both. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Does Bhagavan transform himself into this world?
No.
No. So Bhagavan cannot be the Upadan Karan. Right?
Shakti is the Upadan Karan.
Right? Okay, Prabhu. Does Bhagavan act as an instrument in creating the world?
He's not the instrument, he's the maker.
Right? So Bhagavan doesn't even seem to be the Nimitta Karan. Surprisingly, however, our Acharya says something. Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan says in his commentary to Vedanta Sutra, Nimittopadanata hi sakshadevasya kirtyate. Prabhu, kindly read the translation.
It is known that Bhagavan himself is the Upadan Karanam, substantive cause, as well as Nimitta Karanam, instrumental cause of this creation.
Oh my goodness. But if Bhagavan is the Upadan Karan, then it means that Bhagavan has transformed into the universe. But we can't accept that philosophy, that the spiritual Lord transforms into something material. And let's say, still if we somehow accept that he is Upadan Karan, then he cannot become Nimitta Karan, because Nimitta Karan doesn't transform itself into the effect. So either Bhagwan is Nimitta Karan or he is Upadan Karan. But why is Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan saying that he is both? He is also the substantive cause. He is also the instrumental cause. Now, dear devotees, we have to understand carefully here, because we understood through the example of potter and pot, but that understanding was very basic and preliminary. We have to refine our understanding a little more. Dear devotees, a more nuanced, a more refined understanding is as follows. Please hear. Unless the pot maker uses his energy, the clay cannot be properly prepared and mixed. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, can the clay itself transform itself into the pot?
No.
No. The clay needs some energy from some individual. Which individual is going to give that energy to the clay?
The potter.
The potter or the pot maker? So thus the pot maker gives the energy to the clay, prepares the mixture of the clay, and then the clay with the energy of the potter becomes the Upadan Karan. But the main factor here is the energy given by the potter. So in a sense, the potter is also the substantive cause and he is the main substantive cause, because without his energy, the clay cannot be prepared. And the clay is the secondary substantive cause. So the potter is known as Mukhya Upadan Karan, the primary substantive cause of the pot, and clay is known as Gauna Upadan Karan, the secondary substantive cause of the creation of the pot. Similarly, Prabhu, unless the potter gives his energy, can the wheel and the turning stick turn by themselves and generate the pot? Please tell me, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu.
No.
No, the wheel will not turn by itself. The turning stick will not act itself and turn the wheel. Both of them need the energy of the potter or the pot maker to turn and make the pot. Thus, even in Nimitta Karan, in instrumental cause, the potter is the Mukhya Nimitta Karan, primary instrumental cause, and the wheel as well as turning stick are understood to be Gauna, secondary Nimitta Karan, secondary instrumental cause of the pot creation. Now we have a more refined, nuanced understanding of the situation. Similarly, it is Bhagavan who inspires Maya. Srila Jiva Goswami is saying this thing, that in his Bhagavad Sandarbha, Sri Jiva Goswami says, Jagad Yonera Nichasya Chidanandaika Rupinah Pumsosti Prakritir Nitya Pratichayeva Bhasvatah Achetanapi Chaitanya Yogena Paramatmanah Akarod Vishwam Akhilam Anityam Natakakritihi. These verses are originally in an Ayurvedic literature named Sharndhara Samhita. Sri Jiva Goswami quotes them as it is. Even in Ayurveda, it is described how the creation takes place. So it is specified. The Supreme Lord is the original cause. Mukhya Upadan Karan. He is without material desires and the exclusive personification of knowledge and bliss. His Maya is eternally connected to him, exactly as sunlight is connected to the sun. This Maya is itself inert and dull. But due to contact with Supreme Lord, she manifests this entire material creation. And this creation is not a kakriti, which is as temporary as a drama set. It's just for the, just for playing a drama. It will exist for some time and then it will be unwinded by the same material energy. So, dear devotees, our Bhagavan, when all the universes are about to be created, our Bhagavan glances over Maya, and after receiving this energetic glance of Bhagavan, Maya undergoes transformation. She manifests the three modes and generates the material universes. So it is Maya who becomes the Upadan Karan, substantive cause, but with the help of the main Upadan Karan, which is Bhagavan. Dear devotees, therefore, when it comes to creation of the material universes, we should know that Bhagavan is the Mukhya Upadan Karan, the main substantive cause. He is given the main substance. The main substance is his energy. And Maya is the Gaun Upadan Karan. She is the secondary substantive cause. She has also transformed herself. And how has she transformed herself? Into three modes. What are the three modes? Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, which have generated all these universes. This Maya, which generates all the universes by transforming into three gunas or three modes, has a technical name, dear devotees. This Maya is known as Guna Maya. Our acharyas call this Maya as Guna Maya. Now all the universal shells are created. Now, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, is it enough just to create the shell, or should we populate each and every shell?
We have to populate.
Oh, so we have to populate and create the finer details of each and every shell. There's no point of creating so many shells if the shells are not populated with living entities. Now, once they are populated with living entities, we need another agency to manage those living entities. So, Bhagavan again enters into every universe and again bestows his energy, his glance on another potency. Now, this potency is not going to transform herself. This potency is simply going to manage the working, the spinning of the universe, the working of the universe. So, Bhagavan enters into each and every one universe after creating it and empowers Maya to administer the jivas and to keep each universe running properly. Now, this Maya has to take care that the jivas are full of desires, that they perpetually undergo happiness as well as suffering according to their karmas. And therefore, when it comes to managing each material universe, we understand that Bhagavan is the Mukhya Nimitta Karan. It is he who inspired this Maya. And Maya is the Gauna Nimitta Karan. She is the secondary instrumental cause which helps in running the universe. This Maya is known as Bhu when she creates every universe. This Maya is known as Shri when she maintains the every individual universe. And this Maya is known as Durga when she destroys every individual universe. And this Maya, which regulates all the living entities, has a name, Jiva Maya. Dear devotees, there are two types of Maya. There are two functions of Maya, Guna Maya, Jiva Maya. These two types of Maya are existing. Guna Maya created the shells of the universes. Jiva Maya is administering all the living entities within it. So Jiva Maya is not creating the shells. She is simply managing the functioning of each and every shell. So she is the Nimitta Karan. She is the instrument managing the universe. And Gunamaya created the shell by transforming into three modes. So she is the Upadan Karan. Gunamaya is the Upadan Karan, substantive cause. Jiva Maya is the Nimitta Karan, instrumental cause. But both these Mayas are secondary causes. The primary cause is Bhagavan, who gave energy to both these Mayas. Without the energy of Bhagavan, neither Guna Maya can create the shell, nor Jiva Maya can manage the universe. So I hope, dear devotees, these two types of Maya are understood. Now, dear devotees, our interest today is to understand Guna Maya and Jiva Maya. Sri Jiva Goswami confirms this understanding. He says, Tadevam nimittamsho jiva maya upadanamsho gunamaya iti. In Bhagavad Sandarbha, he says, in this way, Gunamaya is the secondary Upadan Karan, substantive cause, and Jiva Maya is the secondary Nimitta Karan, instrumental cause. Amongst both these Mayas, dear devotees, we are interested in the second type of Maya, Jiva Maya, because we want to get closer and closer to the understanding of Avidya. And Avidya affects the Jivas. Therefore, it must have some connection to Jiva Maya, dear devotees. Therefore, we are now trying to understand what is Jiva Maya. Dear devotees, this Jiva Maya has two functions, Vidya and Avidya. Whenever we look at any material object in the world, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, aren't we getting new Vidya? Please tell me.
Like perceptions or
Yeah, perception. When you hear a new sound, aren't you getting new Vidya?
yeah.
Okay, so any touch, any sight, any taste, any smell, any sight is generating the first function of Jiva Maya. And what is the first function of Jiva Maya?
Vidya.
Vidya. But Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, do you remember what were you doing 1 year ago at the same time?
No.
Oh, which function of Jiva Maya is acting upon you, Prabhuji?
Avidya.
Oh, wonderful. So, Jiva Maya is regulating the Jivas by manifesting two functions, Vidya and Avidya. Didn't we hear the verse? Vidya, Vidye, Mamatanu. Bhagavan had said, we had covered this verse. Vidya and Avidya. Both Vidya, knowledge, and Avidya, ignorance, are my potencies. Dear devotees, when we first read this verse, I had said both are beginningless. Vidya is also beginningless knowledge. Avidya is also beginningless ignorance. I said beginningless, but just now we heard that Bhagavan empowers Maya at a certain time and then Maya manifests Vidya and Avidya. So is Vidya and Avidya really beginningless, or does it begin with the beginning of the creation? So the answer is very simple. Actually, both are beginningless, but both are suspended during the time of dissolution, and both are again continued during the time of creation. In this way, both are beginningless. Vidya is also beginningless, Avidya is also beginningless. They are temporarily paused during dissolution, and they resume after creation takes place. So very simple. It is not very difficult to understand. Vidya, Vidya, Mamatanu. And Sri Jiva Goswami confirms that both Vidya and Avidya are actually part of their functions of Jiva Maya. Sri Jiva Goswami says in Bhagavad Sandarbha, Avidya Vidyakhya Nimitta Shakti Vrittikatva Jiva Vishayakatvena Jiva Maya Tvam. It is Jiva Maya which has the functions of Vidya and Avidya. So, even as Jivas, when we are staying in the material world, we cannot have permanent Vidya, because after some time there is one particular function of Jiva Maya which will start acting upon us. This function is called Avidya. And Avidya starts covering our knowledge from time to time. And especially after the destruction of every body, after death, Avidya takes over and completely covers any remembrance that we have of this particular life. In the next life, most people don't remember who they were in their previous lives. Why? Avidya took over. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjun asks Krishna, how do I believe you when you say that Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacha Arjuna, that both you and me have had many lives? Krishna, says, I remember all of them. You don't remember any of them. You only remember your current life. Because Bhagavan is not affected by avidya. The jivas are affected by avidya. So this is the reason why, dear devotees, this avidya or beginningless ignorance potency, it is beginningless it has no beginning in time, and it is perpetually causing new forgetfulness for us. It's not that it just began at a particular point of time and it is inactive now. No, no. It is beginningless and it is continuing to act even at this point of time. Right at this moment, we are continuing to forget something. This is how avidya is acting upon us. And since beginningless time, it has caused forgetfulness of Bhagavan. We don't even know who is Bhagavan. So this is avidya. And this avidya is the dust on the mirror. Dear devotees, we have to understand this avidya is the dust on the mirror. Why are we undertaking such an intense philosophical journey? Because we have to understand that what is the meaning of avidya? Is the dust on the mirror literal or does it have some figurative meaning? So there's a meaning to it. So the meaning is that this avidya is nothing but a function of jiva maya and it is beginningless. So, dear devotees, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is specified that this avidya manifests again when universe is created by Shri Brahma. And this avidya is basically having the energy of Bhagavan and it manifests through the body of Brahma. So, you can see Brahma, and in this particular image, you can also see a shadow of Brahma below him. So, the Srimad Bhagavatam specifies something. Sasarja chhayaya vidyam pancha parvanamagratah tamisram tamo moho mahatamah. Sasarja chhayaya avidyam. Chhayaya, from his shadow, Sasarja, Shri Brahma created avidya. Avidya was like a rope with 5 knots. What are the 5 knots? Or what are the 5 features of avidya? Tamah, moha, mahatama, tamisra, andhatamisra. Now, these are the 5 features or 5 knots of avidya. Now, we have to understand what are the characteristics, 5 characteristics of avidya, dear devotees. This is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, commenting upon this verse, says, Atra tamo moha mahamoha tamisra andhatamisra kramena agyana asmita raga dvesha abhinivesha gyeya. In this 5-fold classification, we should know that the first type of avidya, which is known as tamas, is the same as agyan, ignorance. Tamas means ignorance. What ignorance? We will see later. Second, what is known as moha is the same as asmita, false ego. What is known as mahamoha is the same as raga, attachment. What is known as tamisra is the same as dvesh, aversion or repulsion. And what is known as andhatamisra is the same as abhinivesh, clinging to life. Dear devotees, I will go into detail on each and every one of these. Please hear carefully. What is avidya and how it works? What effects it generates in this material world? At the root of it is avidya, dear devotees. And these 5 which Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given, Agyan, Asmita, Rag, Dvesh, Abhinivesh, he has taken terms from Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. These 5 terms are found in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has taken these 5 terms from Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Patanjali is known to be a partial incarnation of Bhagavan Anantashesh. So Patanjali in the Yoga Sutra says, Avidya Kshetram Uttaresham. Avidya is the breeding ground. Ignorance, the first one, is the breeding ground for the remaining 4. So from avidya, ignorance, comes asmita, false ego, rag, attachment, dvesh, aversion, and abhinivesh, clinging to life. What is avidya? First and foremost, let us understand. So dear devotees, although these were given as 5, but the first one is the root of the remaining 4. So what is avidya? Patanjali defines anitya, ashuchi, dukkha, anatmasu, nitya, shuchi, sukhatma, khatir, avidya. Please hear carefully what is ignorance. Dear devotees, we are now coming face to face with the most important problem of our lives, avidya. What is avidya? Patanjali says, Avidya, ignorance, is to regard a temporary entity as permanent. Each and every one of us, ultimately we know that this body, Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu, our body is temporary or permanent.
Temporary.
But in our day-to-day lives, when we are living, what illusion is generated within us? Is it temporary or permanent?
We think we'll live forever.
Yes. So avidya is to regard a temporary entity as permanent. Avidya is also to see an impure object as pure. A man thinks the body of a woman is so attractive. Oh my goodness, how beautiful she looks. Oh. But the man forgets that the body of a woman is also having 9 gates, and these 9 gates, they have to be cleansed every day, otherwise they will become full of dirt. Similarly, when a woman looks at a man, she thinks, oh my goodness, how smart and handsome he looks, how beautiful he looks. But she forgets that the body of a man is as impure as her own body. But because of avidya, an impure object is taken as pure. Similarly, due to avidya, ignorance, misery is taken as happiness. The camel chews upon the thorns, and the thorns prick into the tongue of the camel and blood oozes out. And then the camel drinks his own blood and thinks, I am enjoying taste of the cactus. So misery is taken as happiness. Similarly, human beings also, they take misery as happiness. Sometimes they get into a relationship and they have to suffer a lot, because two people, when they get together, they're not aware of each other's nature. To get adjusted to each other's nature, it takes a lot of time. And then people say they lived happily ever after. Oh, no. They lived miserably with some happiness ever after. And they didn't live ever after, because to say ever after is the first type, to consider a temporary entity as permanent. So they lived happily ever after. So that itself has 2 types of avidya in it, to consider temporary entity as permanent and to consider misery as happiness. Finally, to consider what is not the self as the self. This is the 4th nature of avidya. In Yoga Sutras, Patanjali describes that this is avidya. Avidya is to regard temporary entity as permanent, impure object as pure, misery as happiness, and what is not the self as self. This avidya generates the remaining effects. What are the remaining 4 effects, dear devotees? The second effect is asmita. Asmita is myness, I-ness, ego. Patanjali says asmita, ego, is to regard the living entity to be the same as intelligence. I am the buddhi, the intelligence with which I am thinking, this is me. I am this mind, I am this intelligence. Drik darshana shaktyo ekatmata asmita. So ekatmata, to consider oneness of drig and darshan shakti. Consider oneness of the seer and the intelligence and the mind. To consider oneness of the soul and the mind intelligence is asmita. So this ego, I am this intelligence, I am this mind, this is asmita. This is another product of avidya. Next, Patanjali says, Sukhanushayi ragaha. Rag, attachment, is the tendency, Sukha Anushayi, to hanker for pleasure. Avidya produces this tendency. Those who are liberated in the spiritual world, they don't hanker for pleasure because they are Satyakam and Satya Sankalpa. They are fulfilled in all desires. They don't hanker for any pleasure. They only hanker for service of Bhagavan. And if that service generates any pleasure, that is all right. Pleasure doesn't come first for them. Hankering of pleasure doesn't come first for them. But in the material world, sukhanushayi ragaha. Rag, attachment, is the tendency to hanker for pleasure. And dukkhanushayi dveshaha. Dvesh or repulsion is the tendency to be averse to misery. So these two are further effects of avidya. Avidya causes us to hanker for pleasure. Avidya causes us to be averse to misery in this world. Both these have no connection to seva of Bhagavan. They are purely in relation to ignorance of Bhagavan. Finally, abhinivesh, clinging to life. Swarasavahi vidushapi, tatha rudho abhinivesha. The innate fear of death that is firmly established in the ignorant as well as learned individuals. Finally, I don't want to die. I want to live. Let nobody take my life away from me. Even vidukshopi, even intelligent people have this clinging to life and fear of death. This abhinivesh is the final and most disastrous effect of avidya. Dear devotees, oh, I will die. Oh, let me live forever. Even the intelligent forget that this is abhinivesh and they cling to life. This, dear devotees, is avidya and the effects that it generates. Sri Rupa Goswami also in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, says that avidya is at the root of all the miseries. Sri Rupa Goswami says, Kleshastu papam tad bijam avidya cheti te tridha. Miseries are threefold, Rupa Goswami says. Pap, sinful reactions. In this life, we are experiencing many sinful reactions. Sometimes some people receive immense distress due to their own mind, due to immediate relatives, due to other people, due to nature, due to their own body. Pap, sinful reactions. But pap is caused by what? Pap is caused by bij. Bij is the seed or cause of those sinful reactions, which is previous karma. And what caused the living entity to engage in previous karma? The living entity had rag and dvesh. It wanted happiness. It wanted to avoid distress. And that rag and dvesh was caused by the main factor, avidya, beginningless ignorance. So miseries are coming in a flow. First, the root cause is avidya. Avidya caused the living entity to act as karma, and that karma generated papa, the result which we are suffering today. That root is avidya. Now, if we simply chop the tree, but if we spare the root, then the tree will grow again. Therefore, dear devotees, the most intelligent commentator, Shri Veerachandra Goswami, correctly identified that the dust on the mirror is not karma, because karma may be burnt once, but as long as beginningless ignorance of Bhagavan is there, till that time karmas will sprout again. So the commentator most intelligently pointed out that the dust sitting on the mirror is actually the root cause of all suffering, which is avidya. This, dear devotees, is avidya, and this avidya is sitting like a dust, beginningless ignorance of Bhagavan. We don't even know who Bhagavan is. We don't even know. We never had any knowledge of Bhagavan. Never had any knowledge of Bhagavan. Even though Bhagavan is the closest personality to the mirror of the heart, we are still in ignorance of that personality and beginningless ignorance of that personality. And this beginningless ignorance is the dust that has settled on the mirror of the heart. Now, dear devotees, bhakti has the capability of destroying avidya. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Vyasadeva writes, Yat pad pankaj palash vilas bhaktya karmashayam grathitam udgrathayanti santah tadvan rikta matayo yatayo piruddha sroto ganastamarnam bhaja vasudevam. Karmashayam grathitam udgrathayanti santah. Santah, the saintly devotees, easily cut the knots of false ego, asmita, I and mine, caused by avidya. Whereas non-devotee ascetics, who have cleared their mind, they have chopped the tree, but they have not, because they are non-devotees, they have not yet developed knowledge of Bhagavan. They have not yet removed that avidya completely. So, non-devotee ascetics who have cleared their mind of all worldly thoughts and controlled their senses are unable to do so. They are unable to remove avidya. Therefore, please take shelter of Vasudev, Bhagavan Vasudev, by meditating on Pad Pankaj Vipalasha Vilasa Bhaktya, by meditating on the petal-like toes of his lotus feet. When we take to bhakti, something happens. What happens? We are not simply in a negational process. Neti, neti. Not this, not this. The absolute truth is not this, not this, not this, not this. We are not in a negational process. We are not simply removing, the negativities, but we are also introducing the ultimate vidya, para vidya, which is knowledge of Bhagavan. And that knowledge of Bhagavan, it enters our life mainly through kirtan or sankirtan. Somebody glorified Bhagavan in front of us. That is how we came to the association of devotees. Somebody told us about Bhagavan. Somebody said Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. This was the entry point for many of us into this movement. As soon as we were, as non-devotees, one day we were walking on the street, we suddenly heard people are joyously chanting. They're saying Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It attracted our mind. And then suddenly somebody approached us and we inquired, who is Krishna? Because beginningless ignorance. So we inquired, who is Krishna? And that devotee very mercifully performed Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. That devotee told us about Krishna. And the moment the devotee told us about Krishna, our beginningless avidya is being washed away now by Shri Krishna Sankirtan. So Shri Krishna Sankirtan is acting as the purifying water, which is washing away the beginningless dust of the ignorance, avidya. In this way, bhakti destroys avidya. Sri Rupa Goswami confirms in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu that bhakti destroys avidya. Kritanu yatra vidyabhir haribhaktiranutama avidyam nirdahatyashu davajvaleva pannagim. Hari Bhakti Anuttama, it said in the verse. Anuttama, the term Uttama is very, interesting term. When we say Uttama means the topmost. And if we say Anuttama, usually An is used to make it opposite. But Anuttama also means topmost. So Uttama and Anuttama both mean topmost. So Hari Bhaktir Anuttama. So Anuttama means topmost. Hari Bhakti is the topmost, Anuttama. And Vidyabhir Krita Anuyatra. She is always accompanied by all sorts of Vidya, knowledge. Such Hari Bhakti burns to ashes all avidya, ignorance. Exactly as the forest fire flames burns the female serpent to ashes. So just as a forest fire flame burns serpents to ashes, similarly Hari Bhakti is that brilliant forest fire which burns all avidya to ashes. Beginningless avidya. Rupa Goswami says. Dear devotees, therefore, I began with this quote. Kirtan means both lecturing and chanting with music. Chanting with music is especially attractive for masses of people, but talking from philosophical point of view on Krishna consciousness is also chanting, because this Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, where somebody is describing the qualities, pastimes of Krishna, it will introduce that vidya, which will wash away that beginningless avidya, ignorance. Most of us, after becoming devotees, do not remember how we were suffering, when we did not know about Krishna. And those who are born in the devotee society, they have no idea at all what life was in previous lives, how they were suffering before they became devotee at a certain point of time. Why? Because that suffering has now again been covered by avidya. Avidya covers even the experience of suffering. Sometimes it is therefore said we should rejoin the movement, because we have forgotten what suffering it was to be a non-devotee. Not only is there physical suffering, but there is immense mental suffering because of the existential crisis that exists in the life of such a person. Who am I, and what is the goal of life, and what is the topmost attainment of the human form of life? This suffering, this mental suffering drives people crazy. Many people commit suicide because of existential suffering. And therefore, uh, when somebody comes and performs Sri Krishna Sankirtanam and tells us that actually there is a goal to life, actually you are supposed to uh, attain the absolute truth, Sri Krishna, and escape this world of suffering. So when somebody tells us, at that point of time, the avidya starts getting removed. And it cannot be removed in a single instance usually, because avidya has so many other functions. Asmita, rag, dvesh, abhinivesh, all of them are going to take time to get removed. Therefore, it is important that Shri Krishna Sankirtanam should be performed repeatedly. In the previous session, we saw a realization from the commentator, Sri Radha Govindanath, that Shri Krishna Sankirtanam has to be performed repeatedly in order to cleanse the mirror completely. So, similarly, hearing about Shri Krishna should be performed repeatedly. Daily, it should be performed. So that ceto-darpana-marjanam, so that our consciousness is cleansed of beginningless ignorance. And, dear devotees, bhakti also bestows proper vidya. Not only does it cleanse avidya, that, cleansing of avidya is okay, but it also bestows the positive. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Vyasadeva writes, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitah Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahaitukam. When devotional service is rendered unto the personality of Godhead Vasudeva, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge, vidya, and causeless detachment from this world. So not only it removes avidya and generates detachment, but it also gives vidya, causeless knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This knowledge is such that it gives us sambandha, it gives us a relationship with Bhagavan. And dear devotees, gradually by performing Sankirtan, something starts happening. What starts happening? We start knowing about the personality of Krishna even more and more. Who is Krishna? Is he a person, or is he the impersonal absolute truth? Then we come to know that Krishna is not only the impersonal absolute truth, but he is also a person. Acha, if he is a person, then he must be having certain characteristics. Let us hear about his characteristics. Then we hear about the characteristics of Krishna, about the form of Krishna, from Shastra, from Sadhu, from the Guru Janas. When we hear about Shri Krishna, his qualities, his form, his pastimes, then we come to realize that his pastimes, his qualities, etc., are of the nature of absolute bliss. And therefore, our mind becomes attracted to such a personality. His pastimes are full of that substance which we are hankering for. And the substance which we are eternally hankering for is ras, bhakti ras. And once we get the first taste of bhakti ras, dear devotees, that is our beginning of perfection. We are getting Krishna Prem. And dear devotees, that will be the success of life. And all of this began because somebody cleansed the mirror of our heart by performing some kirtan. And this kirtan then gradually brought about Krishna consciousness, remembrance of Shri Krishna. In the Brihad Bhagavatamritam, the Vishnu Dutas say to Gopakumar, Bhayantarashesh Rishika-Chalakam Vagindriyam Syadhyadi Samyatam Sada Chittam Sthiram Sad Bhagavat Smritau Tada Samyak Pravartet Tatah Smriti Phalam. If the sense of speech, which sets all the external and internal senses in motion, is brought under constant control by kirtan. So, dear devotees, kirtan can regulate the sense of speech. And sense of speech can gradually regulate all the sense organs. And then the mind becomes stable. The mind was being thrown in n number of directions by avidya, rag, dvesh, abhinivesh. In all directions, the mind was being thrown around. And now the mind becomes stable by performing kirtan. The mind is able to finally sit down in one place and remember Shri Krishna. And remembrance thus develops as the fruit of Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, dear devotees. And once the mind is controlled, the mind is stabilized, the avidya goes away, dear devotees, then the mind is free to remember Shri Krishna, and the mind becomes our friend, the dearmost friend of the living entity. In this way, Shri Krishna Sankirtan washes the mirror of the consciousness, and it also bestows spontaneous remembrance of Shri Krishna. In this way, ceto-darpana-marjanam. Shri Krishna Sankirtan cleanses the mirror of the heart, which was dusty due to beginningless ignorance of Bhagavan. This, dear devotees, is how Shri Krishna Sankirtanam is ceto-darpana-marjanam. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit vidvamsah purayantu tat. Yadatra saushtavam kinchit tadguroreva me nahi. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit. If there are any mistakes in what I said, vidvamsah, your learned devotees, purayantu tat. Please correct any mistakes. But yadatra saushtavam kinchit. If there's anything nice you found, please remember, tadguroreva. It all came from my Gurujanas. Me nahi. It didn't come from me. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Itai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Gaur. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, your Hare Parshad Prabhu. What another wonderful class. Every class is so nice and so unique and original. I feel like in the West we have a lot of blind faith, you could say, where you're told, oh well, you have sin, and so you have to accept this to get rid of your sin, but it's never explained in a rational, coherent way how that all works or how it relates to your experience or why it's true. It's just stated as a fact that you have to accept. But in this class, you laid out everything so clearly, probably more clearly than I've ever heard before as a devotee, and all based on Shastra. It's a really high level class, and I'm really grateful to be here.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
You have sinned because you were affected by previous karmas, because you were affected by avidya. So many religions tell us you have sinned, but they don't tell us why we have sinned. So the question should be asked, why did we sin? And why did we go against the will of the Almighty Lord, our Creator? That is what they say. But that question is not answered. That question is answered by Srimad Bhagavatam and Vedic literature, avidya is the root cause of the suffering of the living entity. So thank you very much, Prabhu. Let's begin our second session, which is Q&A.
All right. And so I'm just gonna, where's the share button? Oh, there it is. I'm just gonna share our guidelines and rules for asking questions. We do this every time, but it's just a nice reminder. Please only ask questions related to today's class, even though Hari Parshad is a great scholar and we have many questions we'd like to ask him. Let's just focus on today's class. Please don't bring up individuals or institutions to compare or contrast and say, well, you said this, but this person does that, so how do you reconcile? We just want to keep it in the philosophical realm, and it's up to you to apply it in particular instances. Sorry, my daughter's a little loud. We're going to do one question at a time, and then if you have more questions, you can come back and get back in line to ask another one. And if your question would require a lot of research, then please save it for the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, we have
Anything else?
a WhatsApp group. For those of us who don't know, we have a WhatsApp group where it is where you can discuss question and answers related to Śrī-Caitanya-Śikṣāṣṭakam, and it's an open group, so anybody can post questions related to the talks. And if you have not yet joined the group, if you wish to join the group, you kindly please send an email to this particular address. And once you send an email to this particular address, send your WhatsApp number. Please do include your WhatsApp number, and don't just say, please include me in the group. We need your WhatsApp number. Include your WhatsApp number, and then we will make sure that you're added to the Q&A group. And there you can continue the discussion. So that's what I'd like to say. Let's begin. Dhāmeśvara Prabhu. Acha, one thing, maybe after a particular person asks a question, I have answered it. I'd like to ask them if they're satisfied with the answer. So after I've answered it, is it possible that we can unmute them and, if they have any small follow-up, a small follow-up should be okay for any particular.
Sure, Prabhuji. We'll do that. So pardon the noise. Our first question is from Kamniya Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Babaji, Dhanvat to you and Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnavas Babaji. As Dhāmeśvara Mahaprabhu mentioned, it is amazing class. Really have no words to appreciate that, Babaji. To keep it, so Babaji, you beautifully explained two different types of Maya, Jiva Maya and Guna Maya.
Yeah.
So I have like a couple of questions, but I will ask in the second round. But the first is important one, which is burning to me, is why even the Jiva Maya causing the avidya. You mentioned that avidya is a cause of bleach and then papa. But why avidya is being caused at the first place? Or is it caused by all the people, or just for the particular type of jiva? Why it's caused? Why God or energy Bhagavan wants to have us to have an avidya at first place?
Right. So why is there avidya in the material world, and does it apply to all the jivas or selected jivas? So avidya applies to all the conditioned jivas in the material world. Some exceptional jivas are there, such as Jad Bharat, who remembered his previous 3 lives. Avidya did not affect his life as Jad Bharat. He remembered the previous 2-3 lives. But in general case, avidya affects all conditioned living entities within the material world. What is the purpose? To keep the flow of karma going. Because if the living entities get burdened by previous knowledge, they will not be able to move ahead in the flow of samsara. They will not be able to exhaust their desires. Imagine if you start remembering your previous life and you go visit relatives from your previous life. and then all the attachments of the previous life come back to you. Just one life, attachments from one previous life come back to you. There is a good chance that you may give up attachments of this life, because attachments of previous life may become stronger than attachments of the current life. Imagine if the combined attachments of all previous lives come back to you. Will you be able to continue to have a normal life in this particular body? Please tell me, Kamani Krishna.
No, probably not, probably. Yeah.
No. To keep the flow of samsara going, avidya, covering of knowledge, is very important. Very, very important. So Sri Jiva Goswami has specified that actually this avidya also produces, two effects. What are the two effects? Avaranatmika and vikshepatmika. Avaranatmika, it covers the knowledge of the previous knowledge of the living entity in the material world, because it's important to forget, otherwise the living entities will become crazy after some time. It's important that forgetfulness should come. It's important that death should come in the material world. Otherwise, the living entities will become crazy after some time. If all the attachments from all the infinite previous lives come back to us, we'll remember in some life we were a bird, some life we were an animal, and then all of those tendencies will come back to us. That's a big burden for the living entity, which the living entity should not carry. Avidya does a great favor by clearing the memory of the living entity, so that the living entity can get a fresh slate in every life, and then begin from where, begin this birth on a fresh slate with fresh variables. So that is the answer to your query, and I hope that it satisfactorily answered first.
Yeah, just a follow-up into that, Prabhuji. So, isn't it, there is another perspective that if you happen to know your mistakes from your past, as you said that, avidya is forgetful is necessary. So if you happen to know your past mistakes, you can correct it, right?
Oh.
For the betterment.
A jiva doesn't know mistakes simply by telling that it is a mistake. A jiva comes to know a mistake when he suffers through the result of the mistake. I hope you're able to understand. A child is told, don't watch a mobile phone because it may affect your eye. No, 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 no. That's not how most children learn. Most children learn when they have to visit the optician, and the optician tells one of your eye has developed a number. Oh, my father, my mother used to tell me, don't watch the mobile screen. Oh, now I know why. So most living entities understand by suffering through the results, not simply by telling them that this was right and this was wrong. So I hope that clarifies.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much. Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Next we have Tanvi Desai Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my pranams. Thank you so much for the wonderful session. So, as you told about the 5 knots of avidya, and by bhakti yoga only we can overcome it. But now, unless we develop that kind of bhakti, we cannot we cannot overcome it. So, till then, how should we deal with these knots of avidya? Because there are many people who tell that we should not suppress it, but we should get the attachment for Bhagavan. Or there are many options which devotees tell. But what is your opinion according to Shastra, that how should we deal with all these intense desires, dvesha, raga, etc. till we develop bhakti?
Right. So till we develop uttama bhakti, till we develop the highest form of bhakti, what should we do with raga, dvesha, all the effects of avidya that have been generated? So some acharyas have given uh, what to do with these particular, effects of avidya. One thing which comes to my mind is Narottam Das Thakur. He says something in his poetry. He says, Kama Krishna Karmarpane Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane. I'll try to find out that particular instance of, yes, here it is. I will share my screen so that we all can see. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur quotes it, and it is in Sri Narottam Das Thakur's Prem Bhakti Chandrika. He says, Kama Krodha Lobha Moha Mada Matsarya Damba Saha Sthane Sthane Niyukta Kariba. If it is possible to engage all these negativities in some respective places, which do not become antagonistic to bhakti, then you can try to do it. What is that? Kama Krishna Karmarpane. If you have any desire, Kama, offer that desire in activities related to Krishna. So you want to become very rich, try to become very rich while, being a servant of Krishna. Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane. You have Krodha, you have anger, you have repulsion, pointed towards those who are antagonistic to the devotees. Lobha, Moha, similarly, these are options. But these cannot be taken as permanent solutions. Permanent solutions is to develop Uttama Bhakti. And that Uttama Bhakti develops only by the association of a genuine sadhu, hearing a genuine Harikatha which attracts the mind of, the living entity towards Shri Krishna. Because many of us hear Shri Krishna Sankirtanam in a very mechanical way. Oh, Krishna was there, he came, he killed this demon, the demon died, the demigod showered flowers, and everybody lived happily ever after. And this sort of mechanical hearing of Katha doesn't attract the mind of the living entity. Therefore, it's important to hear from a proper source who has that attachment to Shri Krishna. And after hearing from a proper source, gradually Artha Pravritti takes place. Artha Pravritti, development of the positive. Negatives take a back seat. Gradually, negatives become like the biting of a toothless serpent. They bite from time to time, but it doesn't affect much. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has already said, I had pointed out last time, Kinchid raga satvepi na dosha. Till the time bhava and prema are attained, even if some material attachments are there, it is not a big fault. Right? So it is clearly the opinion of the previous acharyas. So that is the answer to your query. I hope that satisfies your query.
Yes, Guruji. Thank you so much.
Next week.
Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, I'd like to give the mic to Shyam Chandra Prabhu. Shyam Chandra Prabhu is a very respected devotee. He is also the father of my dear god brother Amarendra Prabhu. I'd like to give the mic to him. Prabhu.
I have two Shyamachandras, the one with the temple behind him.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. Hare Krishna Dāmeśvara Prabhu, thank you so much. My Dandavat pranams to both of you and everyone in the call. The temple behind me is Srila Shripad Maharaj's Samadhi Mandir in Radhakund.
Oh, wonderful. Achha,
So,
it is the Samadhi Mandir of His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami
That's
Maharaj.
right.
Yes.
That's right. That's in Radhakund. So thank you, Hari Parshad Prabhu, for such a wonderful session today. And it was so absorbing that, you gave such a nice perspective and so many components of avidya and how bhakti can destroy avidya. So I have one reflection and maybe one question if time permits. So the reflection is, when you were explaining about this Srila Prabhupada's perspective about what is a kirtan, in the letter to Upendra, you mentioned that slide. So my thoughts immediately went to when Srila Prabhupada was about to, finish his Leela here and enter the Nitya Leela, the final stages. And my Guru Maharaj had the opportunity to, sit beside him for some discussion. And Prabhupada was giving him the roadmap of how you have to conduct the conference, scientific conference. So this discussion was going on for a long time. And suddenly Tamal Krishna Maharaj came there and he thought that Prabhupada needs more rest and then devotees should be doing some kirtan there. So he was trying to tell my Guru Maharaj that I think you can stop the discussion now, let's do some kirtan. So Srila Prabhupada heard that and he told Tamal Krishna Maharaj, what do you think we are discussing? Do you think that this is not kirtan? This is what we are discussing also is scientific Sankirtan. So please understand this perspective also of kirtan. So this Tamal Krishna Maharaj himself has recorded and noted in the diary. So I was remembering that particular incident from what you showed. And then And a small question, maybe a silly one, but I just a thought that flashed my mind when I saw that explanation about I think Jiva Maya. So where you mentioned that Jiva Maya enters she's empowered by the Lord for the administering and for creating the jivas and all that. So from Bhagavatam we understand that Atra Sarga Visarga. So Visarga part is done by Brahmaji.
Right.
So I just wanted to understand this, so is Brahmaji employing Jiva Maya to do this, or how it is actually to be understood?
All right. So is Shri Brahma, Shri Brahma is himself taking help from Maya, because Maya is responsible for all creation, maintenance, and destruction ultimately. Without energy, without material energy, what will Shri Brahma create? So therefore, it is important to know that even when Shri Brahma creates, he needs help from the three modes. He needs help from Jiva Maya to regulate the living entities. He needs help from Maya Devi, without which Shri Brahma cannot create. Therefore, it is said Shri Brahma is in charge of the mode of passion. He is in charge of Rajogun, which immediately indicates that there is some dependence on Maya Devi. So without the help of Maya Devi, Shri Brahma cannot create anything, because what will he create? He will create only when there is some energy given to him. But that energy is nothing but material energy. That energy is Maya. And that Maya, mostly in every individual universe, the energy to govern the living entities is Jiva Maya. And that is what Shri Brahma employs. When Shri Brahma designs the bodies, when he creates the bodies, new bodies for living entities, he has to take into consideration the previous karmas of the living entities. When he takes into consideration, Jiva Maya helps him to understand what were the previous karmas, according to which the living entities are given new bodies. So that is how Brahma is also dependent on Jiva Maya of Bhagavan in order to create. Sometimes Brahma becomes overwhelmed by Jiva Maya. He becomes overwhelmed by it. So he had asked Bhagavan a benediction in the 10th canto, let me not be overwhelmed. So a benediction was given to him, Bhavan kalpa vikalpeshu na vimuhyati karichit. I will point out this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is 2.9.37. Etanmatam samatishta paramena samadhina bhavan kalpa vikalpeshu na vimuhyati karichit. Brahma, just follow this conclusion by fixed concentration of mind. No pride will disturb you. You will never become bewildered in creation. But who will bewilder Brahma? There has to be some agency which is capable of bewildering Shri Brahma. And that is Maya. So Maya has the capability even of bewildering Shri Brahma. And Shri Brahma is also heavily dependent on her for carrying out his purpose of creation of the universe. So I hope that answer satisfies your query to some degree.
Yeah, very much. So Brahma cannot be even taken as a Nimitra Karanam, right? I mean, the Maya is only the Nimitra Karanam here also.
Yeah. Bhagavan and Maya are the Nimitta Karan. Bhagavan is the Mukhya Nimitta Karan. Maya is the Gauna Nimitta Karan. And even more Gauna than Maya, you can say, is Shri Brahma. So even below Maya, you can say Shri. Right? Thank you. Thank you
so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, and forgive me for not knowing the seniority of devotees here.
It's just that I would like to keep him waiting for long. He's dear to me, and I know him personally. That is fine.
I'll keep that in mind. I usually just go by the order that Zoom places the windows. So next we have Jai Dwarka Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam. Thank you so much Prabhuji for such a wonderful another presentation. I especially like your graphics, the way you explain complicated subjects very easily. Prabhuji, my question was related from this point where you explained that Lord is actually Mukhya Upadan Karan as well as Mukhya Nimitta Karan.
Yes.
Prabhuji, will that not apply for anything which is created by any living entity? Because that living entity will be in any case Mukhya Upadan Karan and also Mukhya Nimitta Karan. And in case
Sure.
of Lord, is that not the speciality? That there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which says, Vishwam Vai Brahmatan Matram Samsitam Vishnu Maya. The world in itself is also Brahman. And matlab ye this world in itself is a transformation of Brahman. So in that sense, it is also dawn and upadan karan also. And this another extension of this question is there is another verse in Srimad Bhagavatam in second canto 10th chapter and verse number 45, which says nasya karmani janmadav parasyanu vidhiyate kartritva parishedhartham mayaya ropitam hitat, which says that there is no direct engineering by the Lord, and whenever it is said that Lord is the creator, it is said to counteract the idea that Maya is the creator, but Lord is not the creator. So
Right.
how to reconcile both the things?
Well, can you once again specify, can you rephrase the first query in simpler terms so that it will become easy to understand?
Yes, Prabhuji. The first query was that for any creation, even of this material world also, the creator will be the Mukhya Upadan Karan as well as Mukhya Nimit Karan, because his energy will be involved.
Right.
And this is not the only similarity in case of Lord, because in case of Lord, this world in itself is also a transformation of Brahman.
Oh no, Brahman, how can Brahman get transformed?
So there are some references which comes in Shastra. So
Sure,
how to understand that?
So yeah, so if you say Brahma gets transformed, is Brahma a spiritual entity or is Brahma a material entity? Please tell me.
It's a spiritual entity, Prabhuji.
So if a spiritual entity starts getting transformed into material entities, then it means that Maya is covering Brahma. Don't you agree? Or Brahma has become Maya. This is known as Brahma Parinamvad, which technically Advaita Sampradaya or the Sampradaya of Adi Shankaracharya, that is what it says. Brahma gets covered by Maya, and that is what we call Mayavad. Maya becomes, it starts covering Brahman, and that is what you see this world. That is what is technically, classically called as Mayavad. But we Vaishnavas, we don't believe in Brahma Parinam, transformation of Brahma. The Vaishnavas are believers of Shakti Parinamvad. Shakti Parinam means it is Shakti which transforms. Brahma simply glances. So many references in Bhagavatam say Vilajjamana, she's ashamed to come in front of him, she stays away from him. You know, how can Brahman come in direct contact with Maya if there are so many references which say that Maya is shy of him, Maya stays away from him? So when we harmonize all the references and we not simply stick to one reference, we come to the conclusion that actually Brahma or the Supreme Lord empowers Maya, and through the agency of Maya, he enters into the universe. That is what it is. So when we say that Brahman has become the universe, it means that he has empowered Maya to become the universe. That is the understanding which harmonizes everything. Otherwise, we will be left with many inconsistencies in our own understanding of Srimad. So if we take specific references and then we say, how do we justify this? Well, of course, you can justify it by immediately taking shelter of Brahma Parinamvad. But Brahma Parinamvad is, it will take you to Advaita. But you have to take shelter of Shakti Parinamvad. Shakti Parinamvad is, if Brahma does not get transformed into Maya, Brahma can never, Brahma is, what is the characteristic of Brahman in Upanishads? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Brahma is Satya, but material world is Mithya. So how did Satya become Mithya? How did the absolute truth become what is not the absolute truth? So that we should not take shelter of Brahma Parinamvad. We should take shelter of Shakti Parinamvad if we want to harmonize everything in the Srimad. So that is the answer to the first one. What was the second one?
Yes. That is not very important because that is just an elaboration, and that can be reconciled in the same way. But in this only, Prabhuji, when you say that this world is the transformation of the Shakti of the Lord.
Yes.
But in that case also, Lord is Gaun Upadan Karan also, because that is his own Shakti also. In case of potter, the clay is not the Shakti of the potter.
Sure.
But here the Shakti in the form of glance of the Lord is also Lord Shakti. That is making the Lord Mukhya Upadan Karan,
Right.
as well as Nimitta Karan.
Right.
And the Shakti which is getting transformed is also Shakti of Lord.
Right.
So in that sense also, Lord becomes Mukhya as well as God, Upadan as well as Nimitta Karan.
Sure, I understand. You can say that in an ultimate sense, Bhagwan is the Mukhya Upadan Karan and Bhagwan is also the Gaun Upadan Karan. In an ultimate sense, Bhagwan is the Mukhya Nimitta Karan. In an ultimate sense, Bhagwan is the Gaun Upadan Karan. Alright? But if we look at the immediate sense, in the immediate sense, Bhagwan is the Mukhya Upadan Karan, Maya is the Gaun Upadan Karan. In the immediate sense, Bhagwan is the Mukhya Nimitta Karan. Immediate sense, Maya is the Gaun. If we go by Parampara Kram, ultimately Bhagwan is Sarva Karana Karanam. That we agree, that we don't disagree with. That is, Bhagwan is Sarva Karana Karanam. We don't disagree with that. But when we are getting down to specifics, then we have to see in the immediate run what appears to be the Mukhya Upadan and Gaun Upadan, Mukhya Nimitta and Gaun Nimitta Karan. So I hope that clarifies closely. Thank you. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Next we have Madhav Prabhu and Shreya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Tandrapana. Thank you so much for the wonderful lecture. Actually, the philosophical things are very difficult for me to understand, but it's getting easier for me through you. So I have a question. Like you mentioned a verse of Srila Rupa Goswami, in which you said like the fire burn into ashes. When the fire burns, it turns female serpent into ashes. So that was clicking my mind. Like why it is mentioned female serpent? Well, is there any purpose behind this?
Like, why is it mentioned female serpent? Why does it not mention male serpent? Is the female serpent who produces eggs and takes care of eggs. It is avidya which produces results and effects, and which takes care of the results and effects. The female serpent not only protects herself but also protects her eggs. Avidya not only protects herself but also protects her effects. Therefore, Sri Rupa Goswami has compared it not to a masculine serpent but to a feminine serpent. Rupa Goswami takes many things into consideration before determining the gender of, the Upaman, and he also has to see the gender of the Upameya. Avidya is feminine, Mataji, or masculine?
Vidya is, I don't know.
Vidya is feminine or masculine?
Vidya is feminine.
Obviously, so avidya also has to be feminine, right? It ends
Yes.
with akarant, feminine it is. So just the entity which you want to use in a comparison is feminine. Obviously, what you are going to compare it to also has to be feminine. So therefore, he compares it to a feminine entity. So avidya has to be burnt, just as avidya is feminine. So the entity to which it will be compared, the snake, should be masculine or feminine?
Feminine.
Obviously, that's what it is. Right.
So it's like that female serpent is saving the eggs as so the avidya is saving the effects of it avidya.
Of course. Avidya not only
It's not-
protects itself, it also protects its effects. The feminine serpent not only protects herself, also protects her eggs. So that is why the comparison is done like that. Also, the genders have to be the same in the object of comparison and subject of comparison.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Prabhuji, it's clear.
Thank you.
Great question. By the way, I'm going to turn on the chat for anyone who's more shy or introverted. You can put your questions there. Next we have Mahesh Prabhu.
Yeah, we have to unmute him again. Yes.
Hare Krishna, please accept my pranams, Shri. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for such a mind-blowing class. Actually, I was really blown away by the way you presented and how the things unfolded and how you connected the philosophical concepts. And although Vidya is such a complicated topic, but you presented it in such a beautiful way. I was just wondering, Prabhuji, how much time and energy you must be spending in making these PPTs and doing all this research and all these things. Just like I was wondering about it. Maybe if like to share so that we can appreciate it a little more. And then, Roji, my follow-up question is, Roji, and really from my heart, Roji, thank you very much for taking all this time for and giving it to us selflessly. So, Roji, my question was, is Patanjali Yoga Sutra accepted fully in the Gaudiya Vaishnava culture? Because I have gone through it earlier, but in the Samadhi path, they talk of different Samadhis like Nirvikal, Samapragyata, Sampragyata, all these things, or some selected things like Acharyas take from it.
Right.
And yeah, because sometimes devotees have a different opinion about the Patanjali Yoga Sutra.
Right, sure.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So, is everything acceptable from Patanjali Yoga Sutra? Well, the thing is, Acharyas have accepted certain portions of it which are neutral to bhakti, like this description of avidya and the kleshas, which are rag, dvesh, abhinivesh. But when it comes to samadhi or perfection, they have nirbij samadhi and sabij samadhi. Nirbij samadhi is considered to be the highest seedless samadhi, where not even the, where nothing remains within the consciousness. So that sort of those conclusions are not accepted by the acharyas. We don't accept those conclusions. But any other concepts which are neutral to bhakti, they have been accepted. And wherever they have been accepted in that limited context, we too accept. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also has sung about this in his Kalyana Kalpataru. I was expecting somebody to ask, and I have the reference ready. So in Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Kalyan Kalpataru, he says, Ore mana klesha tapa dekhije ashesha. Oh mind, see the infinite kleshas. What are the kleshas? Avidya, asmita, ar abhinivesh, durva, raga, dvesha, ei pancha klesh. He gives the name of the 5 kleshas, beginning with avidya, asmita, raga, dvesh, and abhinivesh. These are the pancha klesh. So he gives in his songs also, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So certain, certain aspects of Patanjal Darshan have been accepted, but we may not accept their Samadhi Pad, their idea of Samadhi. So that's all right. But what is neutral to Bhakti? There is no harm in accepting that. Shri Krishna has also said in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto about this. Let me find out that particular verse. Kalpatam yat. Oh, yes, wonderful. I'll share my screen. Some utility of yoga, Ashtanga yoga is given. Yogam nishevato nityam kayaschet kalpatam yat tat shraddha dhyanamatiman yogam utsrijya matparah. This is the conclusion. Although the physical body may be improved by various processes of yoga, Ashtanga yoga, an intelligent person who has dedicated his life to me does not place his faith in the prospect of perfecting the physical body through yoga. And in fact, he gives up such procedures. So immediately for some things, immediate needs, you can depend on Ashtanga yoga. Ultimately, he has to give up faith in Ashtanga yoga and take fully to Bhakti yoga. So that is what it is. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, okay. Next we have Omkar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the class, Prabhuji. I especially like the part where you connected the Mukhya Upadan Karan and Gauna Upadan Karan. That was something very new and innovative, I found. Prabhuji, my question was, I could say, a continuation of Kaminiya Krishna Prabhu's question about Jiva Maya. Jiva Maya, you explained it in the context, like the question was like, why does the Jiva forget his karmas, past karmas? But the point is, if we look at the beginning of ontological level of reality for a jiva, where is the avidya situated? Is it intrinsic to the jiva or is it extrinsic to the jiva? Where is exactly the avidya situated? Is it within the jiva or outside the jiva, covering it?
Right. So where exactly is avidya situated? Is because avidya is a function of which maya? Is it a function of guna maya or jiva maya? Jiva maya? Please tell me.
Jiva maya.
Right. So Srila Jiva Goswami has said in the Sandarbhas, Jiva eva tishtanti. I will point it out. Sorry, it was Paramatma Sandarbh, not this one. In the Paramatma Sandarbh, he had said, Jiva eva tishtanti. What it does while in contact with the jiva.
I think, is it in Avaranatmika, Prakshekatmika section? I think.
Yeah, here it is. It is in the Avaranatmika and Prakshepatmika sections. I will share my screen and everybody can see. Here it is. Tatra Purva is speaking about Purva. These both are tendencies of Jiva Maya. It says Jiva eva tishtanti. So Jiva eva tishtanti basically it means Jive. If you break it down, Jive eva tishtanti. That while residing within the Jiva. That is the literal translation. So it seems by this that it resides literally within the Jiva. But if you try to make sense of it, can a material entity reside within the Jiva?
No.
It cannot reside within the Jiva. Hence, you can take an alternate meaning. Jive eva. Jive means also on top of the Jiva, covering the Jiva from all the directions. Jive eva tishtanti. Right, because Saptami Vibhakti, Adhikaran, it not only means within, it also means over, on top of. So, residing, reigning over the Jiva, she covers the knowledge of the Jiva. This can also be a meaning of Jiva eva tishtanti. I've thought about this a lot. Does she reside within the Jiva? If she resides within the Jiva, then the question is she an intrinsic quality of the Jiva? No, she cannot be an intrinsic quality of the Jiva. Obviously, the Jiva eva tishtanti, even if you translate it as she resides within the Jiva, the meaning is that she is ruling over the Jiva. She is reigning over the Jiva. That is the meaning to be understood. So that is the answer to your query. All right. In Hindi, I will specify adhikaran, may or par. So par on top of is also adhikaran. Adharo adhikaranam. Panini says adharo adhikaranam. Adhar means support is adhikaran. So she stays on top of the jiva, or she rules over the jiva, ruling over the jiva. So that is what can also be the meaning of this. Right.
There's a small follow-up.
Sure.
Is it the same thing as the absence of Bhagavad Jnana? Like in Bhagavad Sambhava, Jiva Goswami says that, Nitya Bhagavad Unmukh and Bahirmukh. So there he points out that we do not have Bhagavad Jnana. So is it the same thing or it's a little different thing? This Jiva Maya.
Yeah, obviously, it is just what it is. See, Jiva Maya has both things, Vidya and Avidya. So we are only speaking of Avidya here. Avidya, you can say, is absence of Bhagavad Gyan. But what about Vidya? Vidya is also a function of Jiva Maya. Na? You can't limit Jiva Maya only to Avidya. If you limit Jiva Maya, because Vidya Mama Tanu, both Vidya and Avidya are my Tanu, and both are part of Jiva Maya. So you can't just simply say that absence of Bhagwan's Gyan is Jiva Maya. No. Bestowing of material knowledge is also Jiva Maya. Isn't that? Otherwise, vidya, vidya, mamatan. Both are there. So that is how we have to understand this. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Done.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Sure.
In the West, in the philosophy of Aristotle, he spoke about 4 types of cause. And so 2 were mentioned today, the same as instrumental cause and what was the other one?
Substantive cause.
Substantive cause. But then there's also formal cause, which is like the design for things, like an architect designs the layout of a house, and then final cause, which is the purpose that something's made with. So does that also exist in Indian philosophy?
The remaining 2 causes are antarbhukta. They are included within the 2 causes that are given in Vedic philosophy. So the 4 causes are material cause, formal cause, efficient cause, and what is it? Final cause? 4 causes.
Right.
So, for example, if you are making any particular object out of wood, you can have wood is the material cause, and the efficient instrumental cause is the carpenter's tools. The final cause is the purpose for which we are going to use the chair or table. And the formal cause is the design. But this formal cause and final cause, they are included within the intention of the person who is designing, isn't it? They are part of the person who's are the formal cause and final cause not determined by the person who is designing them?
Right. So they're part of the nimitta karana?
Yeah, they're part of the mukhya nimitta karana, because the person who is designing he is the main person who decides what is the reason, and that person is the mukhya nimitta karan and the mukhya upadan karan also. So both of these are part of, they are included, antarbhukta. Antarbhukta means they are automatically included within the nimitta and upadan karans which are specified. So I would like to say in this regard that it's just a different way of categorization. Otherwise, what is said by Aristotle is similar to what is said in the Vedic philosophy. I'm also pretty sure that philosophers like Aristotle were having some knowledge of what is going in the East around his time. So it's not, suddenly he came up with, 4 causes. There has to be some previous inspiration, either directly connect or, somebody translated it for him or directly connected to Vedic philosophy. Because this Upadan and Nimitta Karan have been for thousands of years or have been in the Srimad Bhagavatam since the beginning of creation. These concepts have been there. At least in Kali Yuga, since the beginning of Kali Yuga, these have been openly discussed by Vedantis. So these are beginningless concepts. I'm sure some of it came to him through translations or something like that. And he refined the concept to include 2 more causes, but those 2 can also be included within Nimitta and Upadan. Right?
It is true there was a lot of connection between Greece and India. I think that the Greeks had some funny term like misto-gymnasts for the yogis or something like that. Next we have Purushottam Prasad Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. Thank you so much for this wonderful nectarian class. Every time it's enlightening and nectarian. We are indebted for you. Prabhu, the dust that is accumulated and covered our consciousness as since time immemorial, this tamas, moha, mahamoha, tamishra, and tatamishra, it keeps continuing. But by the Acharya's mercy, we get that knowledge that I am eternal servant of Krishna, that forgetfulness is removed. We come to the consciousness that, yes, I am eternal servant of Krishna, and we practice our sadhana. And there is a verse I remember in Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Diksha Kale Bhakta Kare Atma Samarpan. Yeah, but once the Diksha Kale, once the Atma is surrendered to Krishna, then Krishna considered that Jiva himself as good as himself. So in spite of that, how this Jiva Maya still covers that Jiva? That's the question.
Right. So at the time of Diksha, a new identity is given to the sadhaka, that you are Krishna Das. Now he is not going to theoretically forget that identity. That is all right. But that Prabhu is the sadhak identity. Let's say at the time of initiation, you are given the name Purushottam Prasad Das. So this identity as a sadhaka has been given to you. But there is another identity which the sadhaka has to obtain by his or her bhajan, which is also known as Siddha identity. Siddha identity is the ultimate perfected identity that will be in Goloka Vrindavan. In Goloka Vrindavan, the identity which will be of a cowherd, etc., or the friend of Krishna, or whatever relationship, that relationship has to be discovered after practicing bhajan. So that bhajan, as long as one has not gotten that final perfected identity in relationship with Shri Krishna, till that point of time one has not attained prema. Till that point of time one may again have to come back to the material world, and Maya may cause forgetfulness. But as soon as prema, that final acceptance of relationship between Krishna and the Jiva is there, and Siddha identity is established, after that Jiva Maya cannot cause any more forgetfulness. So does that answer your query?
Jai, to some extent, Prabhu. So that Siddha Deha, when the Jivatma attains, it should be like Shiyante Chasha Karmani Drishta Eva Atmanishvare. That is the stage.
Yeah. So when one sees the self, the true self, as well as the Supreme Lord. So when one sees in Goloka Vrindavan, in the state of Samadhi, when one sees one's own identity in Goloka Vrindavan, at that point of time, that identity will never be forgotten, and Jiva Maya cannot cover this identity with avidya.
Cannot. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the Jiva already attained the potency to constantly associate with Krishna. So Jiva Maya will not disturb that Jiva.
Yeah. Now the Jiva attained the Anugraha, the final mercy of Yoga Maya.
Anugraha.
Yes. Yeah. The Yoga Maya's Anugraha was attained in the form of Krishna Prem. Once Jiva has taken full shelter of Yoga Maya and has attained an identity in relationship with Yoga Maya, there is no point of Jiva being affected by Jiva Maya. So I hope that clarifies.
Yes. Excellent. Thanks a lot, Prabhuji. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna.
Next, Satya Sankalpa Prabhu asks if Guna Maya is the same as Mahat Tattva.
Mahat Tattva is the first transformation caused by Guna Maya. Mahat Tattva is an effect. It consists of certain number of elements. Maya is the agency, is the personality, is the Shakti which is bringing about that effect. So, Guna Maya and Guna Maya it generates Mahat Tattva, and from Mahat Tattva the further transformations take place. But Maya is that particular Shakti, that particular potency. When she gets the glance of Bhagavan, that is when she produces effects in the form of Mahat Tattva, etc. Mahat Tattva equal to Maya is not the case. That is the answer.
So then Maya is a function and Mahat Tattva is a thing.
Yeah. Maya is a potency. Mahat Tattva is a particular, substance.
And would it be right to say that before Maya acts and produces Mahat Tattva, it's called Pradhan?
Yeah, Pradhan is Maya in an undisturbed state is called Pradhan. Maya, when the three modes are clearly manifested, it is called Prakriti. And so in undisturbed state also Maya exists. When Mahat does not exist, Maya exists. So how can we equate Mahat to Maya? That is what it is.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Next we have Parama Prabhu.
Dandavad Pranam, Hari Prasad Prabhu, and all the Vaishnavas. Thanks for these new sessions of Gauravani. I have one question in relation to the Yoga Sutras. Do you know some Vaishnava commentator of the Yoga Sutras? Because in the world of yoga teachers, a lot of they try to teach or to learn about the Yoga Sutras, but I find a lot of impersonalists that are commentators. Do you know any Vaishnava commentator for read this book and for teaching in this point of view?
Well, actually speaking, the Yoga Sutra is a text which gives bhakti as one of the options for attaining samadhi. Ishvara Pranidhanadva is one sutra in which bhakti is given as an alternate process to reach the stage of samadhi. However, a commentator's main duty is to not go against the sutras. So, a commentator should not try to explain the sutras in such a way that it defeats the purpose of the sutras. So, if a Vaishnav commentator starts commenting upon Yoga Sutras, he'll have to heavily reinterpret the sutras which deal with Nirbij Samadhi. So, and if heavily somebody reinterprets those sutras, then they will possibly get a lot of criticism. So, therefore, since the Yoga Sutra is neutral towards Vaishnavas and as well as those who are not Vaishnavas, therefore we will not find commentators pulling it in different directions. This is not the case with Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra has a level of ambiguity that makes it possible for Vaishnavas as well as non-Vaishnavas to say that Vedanta Sutra justifies our philosophy. Yoga Sutras does not have that. Some Yoga Sutra, some places clearly supports bhakti, some places it clearly supports, Nirvikalp Samadhi or Nirbij Samadhi. So all of these things are there. So a Vaishnav comes, a person to say that no, I will also explain Nirbij Samadhi in a Vaishnav way, that is not easily possible. Therefore, you will not easily get, but you will get commentators who do justice to bhakti when Yoga Sutra is speaking about bhakti. You will find commentators who do justice to Nirbij Samadhi when it is speaking about Nirbij Samadhi. So those are actually very good commentators as it is. That is what you say, as it is, explaining the text, not trying to squeeze a meaning which was not intended by the author. Did Patanjali intend Yoga Sutra to be a Vaishnav text? What is the answer? Yes or no?
No.
No. So why should a commentator squeeze a meaning out of it? So that is the answer to your question. Right?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Dandavad.
We have a comment from Mahesh Prabhu that Edwin Bryant, a devotee, has given a commentary on the Yoga Sutras.
Oh, acha. Yeah, I'm not aware. There may be recent commentators, but traditional commentator, there is none. Sanskrit to Sanskrit commentary, there is none, as far as I know.
Next we have Devansh. Devansh Prabhu, right?
Yeah.
Devansh, are you there? Devansh Prabhu? Okay, so then we will go to Mahesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dhanatram Prabhuji. Prabhuji, just a small follow-up question. Prabhuji, actually, I am also engaged into yoga preaching in Rishikesh, so that's why I'm asking regarding Patanjali. So, Prabhuji, is there any sure shot evidence or praman for Patanjali being an incarnation of Adishesha? I know it is there in the yoga books, but do any scriptures or is there, and about also the date, like some say that it's about in 2nd or 3rd century. So is there any, I don't know if you anything you got regarding that, because there is a lot of ambiguity regarding this thing.
Okay, so in actually the understanding of Patanjali being an incarnation of Shesha. It comes from many of the Shishtas, many of the renowned personalities of the yoga tradition as well as the grammar tradition. In the grammar tradition, there is a literature called as Vaiyakaran Bhushan Sar. Vaiyakaran Bhushan Sar is written by Shri Bhatt. And Shri Bhatt, in the beginning of Vaiyakaran Bhushan Sar, he gives a verse which I will, here, Pani Bhashita Bhashyabdhe. I will share my screen. Pani Bhashita Bhashyabdhe, Sab Shabda Kaustuba Udrita, Tatra Nirnita, Evartha Sankshepene Kathyate. Phani means Ananta, Shesh. Phani Bhashita Bhashyabdhe. So basically, he's equating Patanjali, the author of the Mahabhashya, to Ananta Shesha. So these are in the traditions of grammarians, in the traditions of those who are practicing Ashtanga Yoga. He is accepted as an incarnation of Ananta Shesh. So that is what
Yes,
it is.
yes.
Right?
And any time references there? If you just remember, no need to just just casually. I'm asking if you just came to
Is
it.
around 5th century BC is one estimate made by. So there are many estimates because we don't.
Okay.
5th century
Okay.
BC.
Thank you, Parshad. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
I have another question, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
In one of the Upanishads, it speaks about how Vishnu made the universe from his body. And I always found that a bit puzzling. How do you interpret that?
Vishnu made the universe through his body.
Like he made a yajna out of his own body and made the universe out of his body parts.
He made a universe or he made all this universe?
Maybe I'll need to find it and put it in the WhatsApp group. You look very puzzled.
Yeah, because I'll have to look at that particular Upanishad that you are referring to. There is a verse in which it is specified. I'll have to find that verse that through Maya Vishnu enters the universe. So it is Vishnu who is the Upadan Karan, who's the substantive cause. I'll try to find that particular verse and I will try to show it here. But if you can find that reference of which Upanishad you are speaking about, then it will be helpful for me to have a look into it.
Thank you. Next we have Devansh Prabhu. He's ready.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. The presentation was really beautiful, Prabhuji, and the efforts and the research you put behind this presentation is just beyond the words. I cannot express it. Also, Prabhuji, the way you explained complex terms like Nimit and Upadan Karan with the example of clay pot was simply amazing, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I had a silly doubt, a small doubt. So basically, I couldn't understand the relationship between bhakti and vidya of Jiva Maya. So does the vidya which is a function of Jiva Maya, does that vidya include the knowledge of Bhagwan also? My question is that if it includes the knowledge of Bhagwan, then how is it subservient to Jiva Maya? And secondly, if not, then what does bhakti do with that vidya? As in the vidya, if it's the material vidya, then it consists of knowledge about it consists lower modes of knowledge also. So does bhakti destroy vidya also as well as avidya? So what's the catch here, Prabhu?
Yeah. So what is the meaning of Vidya? Vidya basically refers to, in Sattva Gun, in the mode of goodness, knowledge is produced. Vidya refers to knowledge, Vedic knowledge within this material world. That is the meaning of Vidya. Vidya doesn't just mean any knowledge. Knowledge of engineering, sciences, etc. is not indicated by the term Vidya. Vedic knowledge is indicated by the term Vidya, and such Vedic knowledge is produced in the mode of goodness. So bhakti can also, it also has the capacity to produce Vedic knowledge which is favorable to it. So bhakti can also generate Vidya of the material world, and bhakti also generates Paravidya. Paravidya is knowledge of Bhagavan and knowledge of the spiritual world. So that is the understanding that we need to have, that any Vedic knowledge which is favorable to the execution of bhakti, that Vidya will be generated, and any knowledge directly about Bhagavan, that also will be produced by bhakti. I hope that clarifies.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Dandavat Pranam.
Next we have Omkar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, the point where you explained how the energy of Bhagavan, it is basically responsible for starting the Maya, or basically inspiring the Maya to do the work of Upadan or the Nimitta. So that Shakti of Bhagavan, is it the Kal Shakti?
See, the glance of Bhagavan is sometimes compared to Kala Shakti. But however, if we see in actuality, it is Bhagavan's Antaranga Shakti, it's Bhagavan's internal potency which ultimately inspires the external potency. That is what it is. I'll have to find that reference. Is Bhagavan's Antaranga Shakti which ultimately inspires Bhagavan's Bahiranga Shakti. So in my reading of the, yeah, this is what it is. The Antaranga Shakti of Bhagavan is what inspires the Bahiranga Shakti. Yeah, and in some places it is said Kal Shakti, but Kal simply produces past, present, and future. The inspiration to Maya, the transformation of Maya, and the inspiration to generate the universes, it comes from Bhagavan's own internal potency. That is his Swarup Shakti.
Next we have a question from Nilachala Chandrika Mataji. You said that until the jiva attains prema, the jiva maya may again cover the jiva. So how does one know that one has attained prema? What are the symptoms or measures where one knows where he is situated?
But can you please repeat, what are the symptoms of prema?
What are the symptoms that you know you're at the stage of prema?
The symptoms of bhav are already described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Shanti Ravyartha Kalatvam, So those symptoms need to be looked at. They are described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Eastern Division, third wave. And
I put the English translation in the chat.
Yes, Prabhu?
Sorry to interrupt. I put the English translation in the chat.
Yeah. So those are symptoms of bhav, and when bhav is attained, prema is mostly a matter of time. So those symptoms are heightened in the stage of prema. And you get a darshan of Bhagavan within the heart after getting prema. So that is very clear. We have Yadupati Hari Prabhu who has not gotten a single chance.
Thank you. Yadupati Hari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dhāmeśvara. Thank you so much for the amazing class. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, because of this avidya from many lifetimes. You also mentioned that one of the symptoms of avidya is that we think temporary to be permanent and permanent to be temporary. So even the scripture is beginning because many lifetimes this avidya is covering us, we may also get these tinges of doubt on scriptures. So is it like we have to live with this till the prema stage, or like how it goes?
Doubts on scriptures should be resolved in the stage of Shraddha, because Shraddha is Shastriya Shraddha. So one should, when one is in contact with a proper sadhu, the sadhu will specify that doubt on Shastra, that it itself is a doubt on the stage of Shraddha itself. Shraddha is Shastriya Shraddha. So at least Shastra Artha Vishwas iti Shraddha. To have innate faith in the meaning of Vedic literature is Shraddha. So On the stage of Shraddha itself, the doubt on Shastra is removed. In Tattva Sandarbha, Sri Jiva Goswami removes all the doubts which are there in regards to Vedic literature and Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is the answer. Does it clarify? Let's unmute him. Or did I get the question incorrect? What was it? Does it clarify? Yadupati Hari Prabhu.
I'll find him. There we go.
I've asked him to unmute. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, your question is correct. You understood correctly. So one small follow-up is in the Shraddha stage itself, we should have the complete 100% unflinching faith on scripture.
Yeah, on Shastra, you're supposed to have unflinching faith right on the stage of Shraddha. Because Shastra Artha Vishwas iti Shastra Artha Vishwas iti Shraddha. Innate faith in the meanings of Shastra is what Shraddha is all about. Right?
Hare Prasha Prabhu, I'll need to pass over the hosting service of the
Sure. So we'll go to Prafula Govinda Prabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam. Again, thanks for the excellent class Prabhuji and the excellent presentation. Prabhuji, just I had one small doubt. This is regarding you explained that how the Jiva enters, how the Bhagavan enters into universe and empowers the Maya to govern the Jiva. Here we explained 3 types of Maya. It is sorry, 3 types of energy: the Bhu energy, the Shri energy, and the Durg energy. So, Prabhuji, this is these energies are the part of the shell which the Gunamaya created, or it is just a stage before that?
No, these 3 are names of Jiva Maya. So it is specified by Srila Jiva Goswami. Shri, Bhu, and Durga are names of let me find that particular reference so that it will be easy to understand. This was in Bhagavad Sandarbha, and I'm pulling out the reference. Vibhur Durgeti. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen so that everybody can have a look. Shri Bhur Durgeti ya bhinna Jiva Maya Mahatmana. Shri, Bhu, and Durga is Jiva Maya. Right? So that is the answer to your particular query. All right. Next we have Kamaniya Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for giving the chance again, and thank you to Omkar Babu for his first question. This was one of my questions. So Babuji, we talked about that avidya causes different things. Like one of them is like tendency to hanker for pleasure. So isn't it Babuji that if you see that's the innate nature of any of the living entity, right? Whether it's a human being or non-human being. So how avidya is causing that one into the human being? And also at the end, we mentioned that bhakti destroys avidya. So if we take that statement, then how the bhakti will destroy avidya into this particular cause in the non-human being? How? Because that tendency is a kind of a characteristic or kind of an innate nature of any of the being, right? Basically.
See, the liberated living entities are Satya Sankalpa. Satya Sankalpa means all their desires are immediately fulfilled. This is one of the characteristics of liberated living entities. In the Chandogya Upanishad, it is mentioned there are 8 gunas, 8 qualities of liberated living entities are mentioned. And one of them is that they are Satya Sankalpa. Any desire they have, that desire is immediately fulfilled. They don't have to hanker for anything.
Okay.
So, in the spiritual world, the living entity doesn't hanker for it. Yeah, I want, only if I could have this, if only I could have that. That hankering does not exist in the spiritual world because everybody is Satya Sankalp. All the desires are fulfilled. Then the hankering is for what? The hankering is for Bhagavan's purpose, that will I be able to render seva to Bhagavan? Because personal hankerings are automatically fulfilled. But that hankering becomes personal in the material world, and that is caused by avidya. Bhakti destroys avidya. Bhakti makes one realize that one is a resident of the spiritual world, and bhakti bestows an identity of the spiritual world. When an identity in relation to the spiritual world is there, one does not have any hankering. One classic example is Sri Rupa Goswami. He had it is specified that once he had his stomach was upset. And people asked him why, because I drank too much of sweet milk. But you don't seem to be drinking sweet milk. Oh, yesterday there was a feast in the spiritual world. So this Kim Vadanti, this story about Rupa Goswami is quoted often. This is because, in the spiritual world, no desires remain unfulfilled. And but in the material world, rag and dvesh are produced. So that is the answer to your query.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm back. Next we have Mahāprabhu and Shri Mahāprabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhamma Pranam, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. It's wonderful lecture as well as the Q&A. So, Prabhuji, although I was going to ask something else, but something else popped up after the question of Yadupati Hari Prabhu. So, therein you mentioned that on the stage of Shraddha, all the doubts towards scripture should be resolved. And after the stage of Shraddha, if they are still remaining, that means the stage of Shraddha has not been properly instated. But sometimes, even there are doubts within the hearts of a sadhaka which lead them to a deeper understanding of Shastra. So are those doubts also within the same category as...
No. Those doubts are not about the validity of Shastra. Those doubts are about understanding whether this meaning is correct or that meaning is correct. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur had a doubt about the missing half syllable in Kam Gayatri. That is not a doubt on the validity of Shastra. That is a doubt about a certain understanding of Shastra. So, what Yadupati Hari Prabhu was asking about was doubt on the validity of Shastra. Those doubts about validity of Shastra need to be taken care of right in the stage of Shraddha. Further doubts about why this was interpreted this way, why there are so many number of syllables, so those doubts are a part of learning Shastra. They will continue, as long as you continue to learn Shastra. That is the answer to the query. I hope that answers your query.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
I have a question, Prabhuji. We heard that phrase, causeless knowledge, or sometimes we hear causeless mercy. What is meant by causeless?
Causeless detachment is mentioned. Causeless detachment means you did not endeavor separately for that detachment. That detachment came simply as a result of a higher taste acquired in Bhakti Ras. Causeless knowledge means you did not seek out that knowledge. You were spontaneously attracted to Bhagavan, and that attraction to Bhagavan automatically impelled you to gain some knowledge. So it's not that, you are being driven here by the Swarup Shakti of Bhagavan, not by your own desires. That is why it is known as causeless. Otherwise, people start seeking renunciation independent of bhakti. First, I must get renounced, then I will have bhakti. But then bhakti itself is capable of generating causeless renunciation, causeless detachment. So when bhakti generates that causeless detachment, then a person does not need to struggle separately developing detachment. And when bhakti gives causeless knowledge, a person will very easily get that knowledge. For example, I'll give you a simple example. For example, somebody wants to learn Nyaya. Nyaya is very difficult to learn. A cartload of books to understand and you can make a mistake at any step. So why do we want to learn Nyaya? Well, because after learning Nyaya, I will have a proper understanding of the world. So this is not causeless. One has a cause behind it. One executes, the same person executes bhakti and then thinks that, well, in order to understand Shri Krishna, there are certain things of Nyaya Shastra I need to know. So just to have a better understanding of Shri Krishna, they very easily are able to grasp concepts of Nyaya Shastra because they have attachment towards Shri Krishna. So they don't, whatever knowledge they gain is ahaitukam. Ahaitukam means it did not have any selfish cause. It came as a natural result of practicing Krishna Bhakti. So that is what it is.
Thank you. So from our perspective, it means that these things come automatically while we're endeavoring for bhakti.
Yeah.
And from Krishna's perspective, does it mean from Krishna's perspective, if he gives causeless mercy, does that mean that the person he's giving it to didn't have any ulterior motives, or there's no material cause, but it's given just out of reciprocation?
Yeah, the
For the
Krishna says in
bhakti?
Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam. Those who are engaged in loving bhakti, to them I give buddhi yoga. I give yena mam upayanti te. So those who are worshipping me with devotion, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. He gives the causeless knowledge, but the condition is that they are constantly engaged in Bhagavan Seva. They have reached that level.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I always had a hard time with that phrase. Next, we have a question from Karan Bajaj Prabhu. The material world was created to fulfill the desire for independent enjoyment for the living entity. Man proposes, God disposes. Doesn't this elevate the position of jiva at least beyond the guna cause, beyond the two kinds of maya, considering Krishna is sarva karana karanam?
The material world was created mainly also for Bhagavan's enjoyment. So, in the Vedanta Sutra, there is a sutra called Lokavattu Lila Kaivalyam. Now, I'll try to let me try to find. Yeah, this is Vedanta Sutra 2.133. Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary. I'll pull out Lokavattu Lila Kaivalyam. It is 2.133 of Vedanta Sutra, and we will see the commentary of Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan. The world is created also, basically it's a Leela. It's a pleasure pastime of Bhagavan. So I'm sharing my screen. This is Vedanta Sutra with the commentary of Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan, translated in English. The sutra is Lokavattu Lila Kaivalyam. Here we can also see in English Lokavat. Two, but Leela, sport, play, Kaivalyam, merely. The motive of the Lord in creating the world is mere sport only. Just for the sake of his own enjoyment, he has created. So this is also one of the causes of creation. It's not simply for the fulfillment of desires of the jivas. It's also mainly, for the fulfillment of desires of Bhagavan. See, some think that the creation is for the sake of enjoyment of the creator, while other think it is for the sake of recreation of the jivas. So basically, he does not have any desires, but still out of his exuding happiness, he has created the world. So in one way, it's also for his own sport. So that it's not only for the sport of the jivas. So that is the answer to the query. You're muted, Prabhu.
Oh, pardon me. Next we have Abhishek Prabhu. Are you there, Abhishek Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this enlightening lecture. Prabhuji, I wanted to ask that, like, you showed the letter of Prabhupada to which he wrote to Upendra, where he writing that philosophical point of view is also needed, is to understand Krishna is also a kirtan. So, Prabhuji, my question was that, like, we have a like tug of war between these two, like musical kirtan and philosophical view, because there is always some statements which say that, like, chanting and like performing Nagar Harinam Sankirtan in public like is glorified more, and sometimes philosophical aspect is like highlighted more. So my question was that, like, when we hear the term avidya, so it's always like the one thought which always comes in our mind is that we had to get knowledge first. So like we have to gain knowledge, and then after overcoming ignorance through knowledge, then we will be performing kirtan and chanting or this type of thing. So how to like see these both the things, because there is always a doubt that first we have to like remove the
All right.
ignorance through knowledge.
So please tell me, ignorance through which knowledge?
Sambandh Gyan.
Sambandh Gyan means knowledge of what? Knowledge of whom?
Knowledge of Krishna's pastimes, name, form. Yes.
So is that sort of a knowledge is called as knowledge, or gaining that sort of a knowledge is included in bhakti?
It's in the bhakti.
What is the praman? What is the proof of that? So that is, it is very important, because many times it is said that gaining knowledge of Krishna is not bhakti. And in fact, gaining knowledge of Krishna is also bhakti. It is included within bhakti. It is specified here in commentary to the verse Anyabhilashita Shunyam, Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary. Sri Jiva Goswami says here, Jnanam. What is the meaning of the term Jnana? Nirbheda Brahmanusandhanam. Only knowledge of impersonal Brahman should not be cultivated. Na tu bhajaniya tattvanusandhanam api. It's not that one should not cultivate knowledge of bhakti and knowledge of Bhagwan. No. Why? Tasya avashya apekshaniyatvat. Such knowledge is definitely expected from the practitioner. So gaining knowledge of bhakti is automatically a part of bhakti. When you perform a yajna, for example, you perform a yajna, is only saying swaha the yajna, or the activities prior to the yajna are also counted as part of yajna? Please tell me.
Yes, Puji, prior to that is also part.
Activities prior to a yajna are also counted within the yajna. So activities which help bhakti are also counted within bhakti. That is what you, because gaining knowledge of Krishna will ultimately help in execution of bhakti.
So, Prabhuji, can we call, or like should we recommend that it should be the prerequisite to like chant? Like we do not say that it is a prerequisite, but we say that first you like chant and then perform kirtan, so you will also get benefit. So, like, is it a prerequisite to like first understand Sambandh Gyan in?
We should not put any prerequisites on Krishna Nam, because adding anything from our imagination becomes one of the 10 offenses. Unless Shastra says, we will not add any prerequisites. Shastra says there are no prerequisites to chanting Krishna Nam. To begin chanting Krishna Nam, there are no prerequisites. But to have a deeper understanding of Krishna Nam, to chant Krishna Nam with affection, Sneha Samyukta Nam, you may need to know the personality, the Nami, Shri Krishna. For that, obviously, you need to know Guna Kirtan, Leela Kirtan, all those Kirtans are needed.
Okay. So, Prabhuji, like I wanted to share my understanding that if we get Sambandh Gyan, so it will intensify the removal of avidya.
Of course, it will intensify. Any Sambandha Gyan, any knowledge of Bhagavan is actually that which counteracts avidya, right?
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for sharing your thoughts. Harish.
I have a question, Prabhuji. When we read the 10th canto, is an example of Abhinivesh, where he was clinging to life and so attached to life that he was willing to do any sinful activity just to stay alive. And so I always notice that implicit lesson that we shouldn't be so attached to life that we'll do anything and everything. I was wondering if it's ever explicitly stated also in the Shastra, and maybe I just missed it.
What exactly, bro? What is explicitly stated?
That if we're too attached to life, it might lead us to perform sinful activities and become wicked in our character.
Oh, yes. It is specified in the teachings of Lord Rishabhdev. Nunam pramattah kurute vikarmah
Yadindriya pritya
apranoti nasadu manye yadatpanoyam asannapi kleshada asadeha. So you have memorized that verse. You know,
I think
Nunam.
it says material desires, but not specifically the desire to live perpetually.
Of course. Nunam pramattah kurute vikarma yad indriya pritaya apranoti nasadu manye yadatpanoyam asannapi kleshada asadeha. Here he says, when person considers sense gratification as the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. But what you are looking for is, for Abhinivesh, you are looking for a Praman, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly this applies, but I was just curious if the lesson is ever explicitly stated.
Right. So I'll try to find, but this is the closest I could find. No. Right.
Thank you very much. Question from Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji. Bhakti is the only way to remove all avidya. Vaishnava aparad happening due to avidya can only be controlled or stopped when avidya is completely cleared by pure strong bhakti. So I think she's asking about, is it kind of a circular problem, because if you can't stop Vaishnava aparad until you're free from avidya, but then Vaishnava aparad is stopping you from getting to the place where you have no avidya, then where do you get out of that loop?
By association of a sadhu. Because knowledge of bhakti comes through the agency of a sadhu. By your effort, if you try to struggle against it, you will not be able to succeed. And the factor which changes everything is the presence of a bona fide sadhu. So that bona fide sadhu can make sure that we get proper knowledge and that we also stay away from aparadhas. Most of the times we are thinking that, oh, we'll put all the efforts and we have to put everything up. We have to make sure that we get cleared of the aparadhas. But it is under the guidance of the sadhu. So that presence of the sadhu makes all the difference. Right?
Thank you. I have another question.
Yeah.
Lots of questions today. So you gave the 5 different types of ignorance, or the 5 things that Brahma created, and then I think one of them had sub branches. Do they all have sub branches? Like, are there sub branches of Dvesha or Raga, or was it just that one of those 5 that had sub branches?
Avidya is the root and it causes the remaining 4. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. And someone asked about how much time you put into the classes. I'm also curious about how do you chart out the whole class? Like, because everything is in such proper order and it's in so much detail and you cover everything. I mean, it's really amazing. I'm also curious about your creative process.
That's Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. That's Yuga Dharma. It requires constant absorption. This is my Kirtanam. This is how I'm trying to do some seva for Bhagavan. Because putting together the slides is not the major effort. The slides first have the order, first has to come within the mind. And then the connections have to be in the mind. So that requires a lot of a lot of absorption. And that is, it also helps because Kirtan helps Smaran, Smaran helps Kirtan. Kirtan helps Smaran, Smaran helps Kirtan. So in that way, it is very joyous. But it is
How
a
much time would you say you put into each class?
well, next class, the preparation begins tomorrow. So
a week's worth.
Yeah, it easily requires a week's work.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I think that we're out of questions. There's one question, but it's actually not related, so I'm not going to bring that one up. This one, I think I answered. What's the difference between energy and potency of the Lord? I think those are synonymous. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then he says, as when devotees generally refer to Samvit, Sandini, Hladini when said about potency in Antaranga, Baharanga, and Tatastha when spoke of the energies of the Lord. I don't understand that. Do you understand that?
I couldn't get it. Maybe they can ask in the group.
Yeah, so energy and potency are synonymous words. And okay, I think we're out of questions.
Right.
So with that, I will invite everyone to unmute and give a big thank you to Hari Parshad Prabhu.
Thank you, Hari Pārṣad Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Prabhuji. Thanks for your wonderful class.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you very
Thanks for the
much.
efforts you're taking for preparing the class.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Radhe Pārṣad Prabhu ki jai.
Prabhupada ki
Prabhupada
jai.
ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Pārṣad Prabhuji ki jai.
Jai.
Wonderful class, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Greatly indebted to you, Prabhu. Hare
Srila
Krishna.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Srila Prabhupada
Thank
ki
you,
jai.
everyone, and thank you for tolerating my my corrections and questions and things like that. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Dhāmeśvara. Thank you.
Dandavats. All
My
right, see you
pranams.
all next week. Thank you. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.